Good evening, students. Tonight we'll be going over the Texas Resources Unit. There are four main groups we're going to study, and if you'd like to get a blank sheet of paper and follow along, that would be great. This might help you out if you've been struggling with resources in class. Okay, first of all, we're going to cover the Gulf as part of the water resources, the Gulf of Mexico. The reason we start off with the Gulf of Mexico, and with water for that matter, is it is the most important resource that Texas has. The Gulf of Mexico contributes a lot to the economic development of Texas, with fishing, a lot of trade. In fact, Houston is one of the biggest ports in the United States. It's got a moist and humid environment, which leads to a lot of precipitation or rainfall, and that leads to a great amount of agriculture that takes place in the coastal plains as well. It also has access to oil through giant refineries down by the sea and some oil rigs down there as well. So that brings up our second topic about the waters. We have human-environment interaction, or HEI, as you all know it very well. HEI is a big deal, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, because we have a few things. We've got pollution, which makes food unsafe. So food can become very unsafe because of pollution in the Gulf. In addition, we have a lot of interaction in the sense of we move ecosystems. For instance, whenever we're building refineries, we have to flatten it out, and that destroys some of the life that originally was there. We see this also a little bit later whenever we're talking about different water resources. For instance, with rivers, our second giant water feature in Texas, and also in the coastal plains where we are. Rivers, there's a lot of HEI going on. Moving ecosystems, we talk about damming rivers. And when we dam the rivers, what we basically do is we pop a big old wall across the river and let only a little bit of water come through from what was once a really big river in the back. And what that ends up doing is it creates what we also have underwater resources is lakes. Now, as you may remember from class, we have over 200 major lakes in Texas, and there's only one of them natural. And so that means that damming rivers leads to creating lakes. Lakes are very important for us because we use them for irrigation, much like we would use the rivers. The only difference is lakes also supply cities with water. Finally, other than, let's see, we've got rivers, we've got lakes, and we finally have one more. And they're kind of like lakes, but they're underground. They're called aquifers. There are two major ones in Texas. We have the Edwards Aquifer and the Ogallala. The Edwards Aquifer supplies the central part of Texas, and then we also have the Ogallala Aquifer, which supplies northwest Texas. So that's in that Great Plains, North Central Plains area, with drinking water and agriculture, which we would use for irrigation. Sorry. And irrigation is just supplying your crops with water. Speaking of crops, you need two things to make your crops grow. Number one, you need water, and number two, you need rich soil. So rich soil is one of the most valuable resources in Texas.
Pardon the interruption. Britt, Tony, if you're in the building, would you please come to the front desk? Britt, Tony.
It's one of the most valuable resources because we have over 40 billion in revenue every year from agriculture. Farming and ranching is $40 billion, and you have to be careful here, though, because a lot of natural effects, a lot of climate could change all of this. Next up, we have energy production, which is what most people think is what is going to be our major money earner in Texas. However, we only earn 17 billion rather than the 40 billion from agriculture. We only earn 17 billion from oil and petroleum. So our natural resources in Texas for energy include petroleum, which is gas, or oil. And we also have natural gas. Those are the two big energy production items in the Texas area. They're our most important mineral resources that we have. Another thing that we need to be aware of is, finally, our minerals that we pull from the ground. We've got salt, gypsum, and limestone. And gypsum and limestone we really use to build. And salt, I think you know, has many uses. But all of these together make the mineral resources. Alright, that was a quick cover of the Texas resources. I hope you guys are studying hard for your test, and I'll see you all tomorrow.